Today we're reviewing the Guerilla Gravity Pedalhead. A few months ago, Guerilla Gravity quietly released their new Pedalhead Hardtail. Here it is. It's still steel, but it's totally new. We've got a much shorter seat tube with much less of a gusset, which I love seeing. If you haven't seen the first look video yet, go check that out. That's where I measure geo and talk all about it. Today we're taking it on the trail in Sedona, Arizona to review it, to let you know what it rides like. So these frames are made in the US, in Colorado, just like all of Guerilla Gravity's frames, which is really cool. What isn't cool is there's only one size. I have no idea why they did that. This is meant for riders 5'9" to 6 foot. So it's just a little bit bigger than I would normally ride. But since it's the only size, it's the only option I've got. I don't understand why, if they're made in Colorado, handmade there, we can't have more sizes. It's also weird that you can't buy it as a frame only, which for a hardtail like this, you'd think that'd be a pretty standard option. Anyway, those idiosyncrasies aside, this is a great bike. Let me tell you more about it. Man, this thing is a charger. So composed. Since it's a little big for me, I have a tiny bit of a hard time getting it on this back wheel, but riders taller than me won't. This thing is such a charger, and the frame is smooth. It truly is a nice soft steel frame, just like I like it. Now marketing says what all marketing things say: laterally stiff and vertically compliant. And it actually seems to hold true in this case. So like I said, this is a size 3, which has a 460 mil reach, 65 head angle, 435 mil chainstay. This is a great bike. Could easily be my only bike. Not playful like the Maniac. Not as easy to get on the back wheel as like that Enigma. Reminds me quite a bit of a Pedalhead Taival and the Banshee Paradox. So if you want a steel bike made in the US that rides like a Paradox, that charges and is really at home anywhere, I think this would be a great option. Fun bike. Oh, I love this bike. It rides really great. Geo's really balanced. I feel like most bikes in size large ride a little better than size medium, because the chainstay and reach balance is a little closer to how I like it most of the time. Oh yeah, this thing likes to charge. Man, what a shredder. What just a great all-rounder. There's nothing it's bad at. This wouldn't be my first choice for greens, but man, super happy on black diamond and double black diamond and even blues. This bike, just like its marketing speak, is really just a great bike for everything. Yeah, it reminds me a ton of the Taival and the Paradox V3. Climbs well. I'd like a tad steeper seat angle. With the longer chainstays than what I normally ride personally, the slacker seat tube angle does not feel as slack as when you're on short stays. In other words, the front wheel's not trying to lift on the climbs because the back wheel's way behind you. A lot of you guys have been asking, these are 5dev cranks. I absolutely love them. I've got a discount code for them in the description below. It supports the channel and it saves you money. Check it out. And today I'm also testing these K-Ped pedals. They're under 40 bucks on Amazon. I wanted to give them a try. They're okay. They're not quite as robust and strong as the Shimano's that I love, but man, Shimano's have gone up in price so much. I'm trying to look for an alternative for you guys. So they're okay for your first clipless pedals, but I think I'm probably going to go with the XT platforms in the future, just bang for the buck. They're still not cheap though, but those have been super reliable in the past. I've had these kind of unthread a little bit, so just keep an eye on them and make sure they're torqued, and then they'll be fine for you for a while. For where I live, a 65-degree head angle is perfect on a hardtail. It's not so slack that you lose your balance on slow speed, techie, kind of trialsy moves, but it's not so steep that it feels over its head on the double black diamond. So I think the geo on this thing is dialed. With the longer reach, with it being a little bit big for me, I'm able to plow really well and really get on that front wheel. When you size up like I am here, not by choice, by necessity, you have to weight the front end a little bit more. And I like that, but if you're tired or casual, the front end will wash more. But it brings stability and confidence on steep chunk that you can't quite get with a little bit shorter frame. So I actually like the sizing. I think this is the size I would pick. For how I like to ride, I would like a little bit steeper seat tube angle, especially if I'm gonna size up. But most people won't be sizing up, and good for them for actually making it the size that most people are, between 5'9" and 6 foot. So I think the seat angle will work out for most people. It's just not gonna be super modern, super upright, like the Canfield Yelly Screamy. Still, as I chat with people, not everybody's sold on the steep seat tube angle. It's about 50-50. Some people must have it on their next bike, and some people won't buy a bike if it's steeper than, I don't know, 75 degrees. I'm one that I won't buy a bike unless it's steeper than 75 degrees, because how I ride and where I ride, and I like a short rear end, a steep seat angle keeps your front end down when you're climbing, especially steeper stuff. What really impresses me about this bike is how well it rides everywhere. Some bikes just really fit into a certain type of trail and click with that and kind of struggle everywhere else. This thing is probably most at home on black diamonds, but it's still very fun on green and blue trails. While this thing is probably the most comfortable at black diamonds, it still covers greens, blues, and double black diamonds really well. Just a great all-rounder bike. If you're under 5'6", which most of you aren't, but if you are, I think you're going to find the chainstay a little bit long. That said, the long chainstay gives it a very planted feel, a very smooth feel, because you're not sitting right on top of the wheel. It's enough behind you that you're not picking up every vibration. On smaller chainstay bikes, it kind of feels like a unicycle because you're right over that rear axle, which I love for everything except charging downhill, because charging downhill, it does bounce you a little bit more. So having the longer rear center gives you a smoother ride. You get less hung up on stuff at the cost of playfulness and agility and slow speed moves. So everything's a give and take. That said, I think this bike is really well balanced between the reach and the rear center. It just feels nice. I always like a reach to be longer than the rear center, and this one is a good 25 mil longer, and it feels really balanced. All right, now we're gonna go take on a little bit more of the black diamond stuff. The GoPro effect is real. This isn't the world's hardest trail, but it is steep. It's very chunky. There's lots of 12 to 18 to 24 inch rock steps in the middle of this. So it looks mellow on camera, but it's pretty tough to ride a hardtail quick down this in control. This section's just tricky enough that you can't just charge it on a hardtail, because it gets kind of hard to brake because you're skipping across the top of the rocks, whereas a full suspension, you can track the ground a lot better. So you kind of have to ride it mellow here. That section looks so easy on camera, but it's not. This thing on the head tube, on the top tube, it says, "I like going fast." And this bike does encourage you to push it a bit. It's nice and composed at speed. Woo! Oh, big old hole there. Man. Composed though, my goodness. Another 24-inch hole. Big ledges. All right. Yeah, that bigger frame size just makes it so stable on this stuff. And I can still, surprisingly, kind of put it around where I need to. Can loft that front wheel off for a quick little manual if I have to. Super composed through this. I love this little bike. Well, there you have it, the Guerilla Gravity Pedalhead. What a great bike. What a huge bummer it's only available in one size and not available as a frame. Too bad. Hopefully that changes in the future. If you need help and advice picking your next bike, or you need help knowing how to upgrade it or how to build a frame up, I offer that service over on Patreon. Sign up for a month. You have access to me one-on-one. We chat through email. That's how I put food on the table for my family, and I love helping people find the right bike for them and avoid the costly mistake of just buying whatever their local bike shop tells them to buy, because very rarely is that the right bike for my clients. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hardtails are awesome. There's a party in the mountains, and you're invited.